2025 Quarterly Town Hall. I was with a couple people today, and we all thought it was still February, and we're already into March. We can't believe it. But please join me, if you're able to, in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today's topic is the resident survey from last October. So you'll get information on ACTS as a whole, then you'll get information on our specific Willowbrook Court as compared to our region and ACTS, our Oak Ridge Terrace as compared to our region and the ACTS average, and then our independent living area as well compared to our region and our ACTS average. And today we're trying something new. We've actually got a monitor over here, so I feel like, wow, I'm looking at it. I'm probably just gonna go off of what I have here, but it's pretty neat to have this here in case we lose our spot. But with that, I'd like to ask Chaplain Duke to come up to lead us in a prayer.
Thank you, Scott. Well, here we are in one of those conversations that can be a little awkward. You ever had one of those conversations? You know, we're in that performance review kind of conversation. You know, like, how are you doing? It's kind of like Lent. You may have noticed, there's a big mark on my forehead here. Lent is a season where we do a little self-reflection. We ask ourselves a question: are we living with others like we know that we are loved ourselves? Are we living in relationship with others as one who knows within that we are deeply loved? Because people who know they're loved treat other people differently. So, what does that have to do with a performance review? I don't know. But that's the season that we're in, and that's what's happening on my forehead. So you may see some other people around here with these marks, and they're reflecting on the same thing. So let's just get to the praying. Lord, thank you for loving us today. We long for the day when your love is enough for us. Until then, by your Spirit, make your mercy known within each of us, that we might grow in grace and truth, and kindness and patience, joy and hope, as you are all of these things. Help us to grow in you, in the way we live with each other here, and as a way that we interact, team members to residents and residents to team members. Help us to celebrate the good news that we see in these reports today, and where there are invitations to grow in loving kindness. Lord, help us to receive that and the courage to move therein. We offer these prayers back to you in your name. Amen.
We're all mic'd. Thank you, Duke. All right, now I'd like to welcome up our Vice President of Operations, Steve Eggles. He'll report on ACTS company-wide results.
I like the new setup. I'm officially standing on the podium. Before, I was behind the lectern. Do you know what the difference is between a lectern and a podium? Does anybody know? A lectern is something you stand behind. A podium is something you stand on. So you just turned your lectern into a podium. So I like it. Now we have to figure out how to fill seats up in here so I can get closer to you next time. So as Scott said, we're going to talk about the results of the satisfaction survey that took place last October. I'm not giving the overall for ACTS. I'm going to give you the results for the region. I'm going to be fairly brief. I'm just going to highlight key points For the region, because what you really want to know about is how Linear Village Estates did and look at your survey results, which Tammy and Scott are going to do for you. So as Scott said, we're going to show you the independent living results, followed by Oak Ridge Terrace, and then Willowbrook Court. So we're starting with the regional results for independent living. And when we look at campus life, we look at these 7 areas. And in case you can't read those there, the 7 areas were volunteer opportunities, responsiveness to unusual situations, safety and security, fitness programs, spiritual services, transportation, and variety of events. There's 3 different color lines here. The first one, the light blue, was the results from 2000 from 2 years ago, and then for 2022, and then the dark blue is 2024, and the green is ACTS overall. And you're looking at the Mid-South region, the 6 communities that make up the Mid-South region. And you can see when you look at the different color lines, we're slightly above where we were in 2022, so we're going the right direction. And we're also a little bit above the ACTS average. So nothing alarming, we're doing well there. The highest areas that we received scores on, the highest scores on this slide were fitness programs and variety of activities. Did very well for the region, okay? And then when you look at culinary services, which is one of the more important issues, the two areas I'm showing you is culinary services and health services. You can see that we did fairly well. We like to see our culinary scores, you know, historically they're always in the 3s. It's the one that gets the lower scores, with temperature of food being the most challenging. And then our goal is here, we need to one day start moving these numbers towards at least getting a 4. I don't think you're going to see 4.5s and higher, but we should be able to try and achieve 4s. And we did that finally when it comes to service in the bistro, did well. And then the lower score over here was temperature of food, as I mentioned before, okay? So when it comes to health services, we have 3 categories here: competence of emergency response, quality of nurse practitioner services, and quality of therapy services. We did at or just slightly above where we were previously, and we're right in there with the ACTS average. We're very pleased with the response we're getting to therapy service and nurse practitioner services. Years ago, we didn't have a nurse practitioner on a campus, and then therapy services was contracted out. We used a third party. We brought that in-house, and we're getting a really good level of satisfaction in those areas now that we have those services being done in-house by ACTS. So the Oak Ridge Terrace results, when it comes to quality of health services, you can see there's a slight dip there when it comes to the quality of nurse practitioner. That's the region. You're not looking here at nurse practitioner services in this community. And then there was quality of rehab services pretty much stayed the same. And then the quality of the home care services went up slightly and is slightly above the ACTS average. And then when we look at the staff that are providing the services, the skill level of the staff, the responsiveness to personal needs, the respect for privacy, and the quality of the spiritual services, all doing fairly well, pretty much at meeting or slightly above what the ACTS average is. And then when you come to satisfaction with culinary, what you see in this slide, this is the first slide you see where the average for the region is just slightly below the ACTS overall average. So that's a good message. That's an interesting message to our regional team, that we need to focus on this area. What are we doing with culinary services and the health services area, and how can we bring those scores up? So that's going to be one of our goals as a region. When we look at Willowbrook Court and quality of the health services, you can see they've actually, these numbers have improved over the previous survey, and they stayed pretty much the same with the quality of the home care services, but all getting fairly good numbers on that response. And then the staff services, and once again, the skill level of the staff, the responsiveness to personal needs, requests for privacy, and quality of the spiritual services for the region, and Willowbrook Court slightly above where we were 2 years ago, and pretty much right at or above the ACTS average. So nothing real alarming there in the region. We had some good scores in some places, and I said the culinary is one of the areas where we're going to be working with culinary services in Willowbrook Court. You could see Pretty much nothing went backwards here. We're moving slightly forward in Willibrord, but again, this is an area where we're at or slightly below the ACTS average. Again, that's a message to us as a region. So now we're going to move on and talk about the results here at Lanier Village Estates, and I believe Tammy's going to come up and talk to you about the results for Oak Bridge Terrace and Willibrord, followed by Scott, who will talk about independent living.
Well, good afternoon, all. Do I click through? Okay. How's everyone? Glad to see you here this afternoon. So my prayer, and I forgot to mention this to Duke, that I can see these little tiny numbers if we go through this. I got my specs on just in case. So we want to talk about Oak Bridge Terrace and WBC today. Those are my two favorite topics to talk about here. So when we look at the overall response rate, we're looking at the total number of people who completed a survey. So at Lanier Village and OBT, we had an 87% response rate, which is very, very good. Much better than before in the prior years. The overall satisfaction with aspects to the community, we're doing a 4.3. You know, we're right in there just above the 4.2 of the total acts. And we look at our mission statement scores, we're at a 4.4 for this year, which is an increase from 2022. Good deal. So our assurance of benevolent care, we're at 4.2, which is right in there with the ACTS total, a little bit higher than the 4.1 for the total for ACTS. And then OBT supports and encourages welcoming environment for all. Big increase in that, 4.4. So OBT is doing well in that area. OBT provides resources to adapt to health and lifestyle changes. We came in just a slightly lower than 2022 and just right at or just slightly lower than the ACTS overall of 4.1. OBT enables me to be as socially active as I want to be. Straight across the board, 4.2. So we did really well in maintaining our scores there. OBT quality of spiritual services for 2024, we came in at 4.1, and which is right in line, a little bit lower than 4.2, which is the total ACT score for 2024. OBT skill level of staff, we improved here from 2022, which is a 4.0, which now we're at a 4.3. Good job, OBT. Over OBT responsive to staff needs, we see that we have some opportunities in this area. We dipped to a 4.2, which is in line with the overall 2024 ACTS total of 4.2. OBT staff respect for privacy. Again, we did well here. 2024 has a little bit more impact. As you can see, the 4.4 for 2022 looks a little bit lower than the 2024 4.4. So I guess that's the new score. So OBT menu selections for culinary, improvements seen here. So we were down in 2022, 3.1. We brought that up to a 3.5 of 2024. So we know that we have some development opportunities in these areas, and we will continue to strive to work towards those goals. OBT quality of food, we came in at a 3.1 this year. Again, we are strategizing to make improvements in those areas, and that's part of our development plan for this year. OBT temperatures of food, we have had big improvements in this area. We went from 3.0 in 2022 to a 3.7 for 2024. So good work is being done in culinary and food temperature. OBT quality of nurse practitioner services, we're at 4.2. We dipped a little bit. You know, some of the people are telling me that we just don't use the nurse practitioner. They don't have those. They are not choosing to use those services at this time, which could impact our overall scores in that area. Quality of rehab services came in at 4.2, slightly below the ACTS of 4.3. And OBT, Quality Backs Home Health Services, at 4.1 this year. And so our OBT results summary, so 2024 survey compared to 2022 survey, scores we improved in seven of the 16 categories. Scores decreased in 8 of the 16 categories, and scores stayed the same in 1 category. Now, LVE OBT scores compared to ACTS average. Scores were higher in 7 of the 16 categories, and scores were lower in 6 of 16 categories, and scores were equal to the ACTS average in the 3 categories. I promise there will not be a test after this. So what are we going to do? How are we going to improve some of those scores, which we saw dips in from 2022 to 2024? So some of the things we're doing is culinary highlights and areas of focus. We're going to focus on food quality, food temperatures, and menu selections. We noted improvements noted in 2 of the 3 areas, but all remain under 4, which gives us opportunity for development. And so with Chad now being our illustrious director of culinary, and Joyce that we have in as our nutrition service manager, they are strategizing with us to make those improvements, and we're looking forward to see what comes up from that. To 5s, you heard it here. OBT action plan topics remains consistent with the ACTS overall score of 4.2, but slightly lower than 2022. Our focus is going to be regular training and education sessions to ensure staff are equipped with the best practices for effective communication and prompt response to resident needs. So in rehab services, our scores did dip from 2022 rating to 4.2, which allows us opportunity. So we're going to focus on program development and resident satisfaction for the year. So now that completes OBT, so we'll talk about Willowbrook. So our response rate in Willowbrook was 92%, which is great considering total ACTS is 62%. So I'm proud of our WBC responders. So we look at our overall aspects within the community with satisfaction is concerned, and we came up from 4.2 in 2022 to 4.4. So good work is being done in WBC. Also, in the fulfillment of our mission statement, you can see that we are up to 4.4, which is an increase from that 2022. We stayed pretty average throughout this WBC assurance of benevolent care. WBC supports an encouraging, welcoming environment. We came up in this area in WBC to a 4.4 from a 4.0, so good work continues to happen. Provide resources to adapt to health and lifestyle changes, 4.2, which is a big increase from the 3.9 from previous years. Good work. Enables me to be socially active. Boy, this one's really coming up. You could come over and see our activities programs that we have going on now, especially if you were in that party yesterday for Mardi Gras. It was awesome. Everybody enjoyed it, but 4.4, which is a big increase from 4.1. Good job. WBC quality of spiritual services came up as well from 3.7 to 4.2 in 2024. WBC skill level of staff also increased. Big increase from 3.8 to 4.5 for skill level. And WBC responsiveness to daily needs, a big increase here too. 3.6 up to 4.3. WBC staff respect for privacy came in at a good rate at 4.5, another increase. And the quality of food, we're making progress here in WBC because we came up from a 3.4 to a 3.6. So we are starting to see progress there. WBC's temperature of foods, also an increase. Came up to 3.6 from the 3.1 in 2022. Quality of nurse practitioner came in at average with ACTS total 4.2. And then the quality of rehab therapy services, we had another increase here, 4.7 as compared to the 4.5. And then the ACTS home care came in at 4.3, which is another increase. So we are headed in the right direction. So our WBC summary results from 2024, we improved in 15 of the 16 categories. That's something. That's really something. Our scores decreased just in 1 of the 16. So WBC scores compared to ACTS average, we were higher in 10 of the 16, and scores were lower in 2 of the 16, but we were equal to ACTS average in 4 other categories. So what are our action plans for WBC? We're working with culinary and food quality, temperatures, and menu selections. All 3 areas did show improvement from 2022 though. But we remain under 4, so that indicates that we still have rooms for opportunity, right? So continue to work in those. WBC action plan topics, medical director, nurse practitioner. We did have a slight decrease in 2024 by 0.2, but it remains consistent with the ACTS total score of 4.2. That ends my presentation. Do you have any questions for me? All right, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. What I find interesting, among other things, is the rehab area. Willowbrook Court went up to a 4.7, which on a 5-point scale, that's considered 94%, which is excellent. But Oak Ridge Terrace went down, and I think it's all about making Oak Ridge Terrace residents more aware of what's available, because they don't use it as often as Willowbrook Court residents. But we all know our rehab team does a wonderful job, so we wanted to make sure we take credit for that. But here we'll move on to independent living, resident engagement and satisfaction survey. So we had a little bit lower percentage, 58% out of an ACTS average of 65.7. This continues to be a challenge. I mean, some people are surveyed out, you know. The way ACTS does it is 1 year they'll do a resident survey and 1 year they'll do a team member survey. So we don't do resident surveys every year, but getting to 70% or above is our goal every year. We did it in Oak Ridge Terrace and Willowbrook Court. We have more team members that can assist residents with taking surveys. So we'll try to get to the 70% next year or 2 years from now or better, higher better. All right, overall satisfaction with all aspects of the community. In 2022, we rated at 4.2. We went to 4.3 in 2024. And we're above the ACTS average of 4.1 in this area. Fulfillment of the mission statement, we were at 4.2 in 2022. We jumped up to a 4.5, and the ACTS average is 4.3, which is a nice improvement for us. Would recommend community. I think this is a huge one. I think this is one Steve would probably say, and many in the organization, that this probably is one that is looked at the most in the independent living area. We were at 80.1 in 2022. We jumped up to 88.9, which is outstanding. And the ACTS average was 81.8. So thank you for that. It's great because our best referral source, Lawanda, are you in here? Lawanda's in the house, our sales department, and she knows our best referral source is our residents and their families. So that's great. So thank you very much. Independent living supports and encourages a welcoming environment. High scores. We were at 4.3. We jumped up to a 4.6 with the ACTS average of 4.4. Independent living provides resources to adapt to health and life changes. Another big improvement from a 4.1 to a 4.5. And total ACTS average is 4.2. Independent living offers resources to maintain, improve health and well-being. A high score, not as big an improvement, but 4.4 to 4.6, and the ACTS average is 4.4. Response to inquiries and complaints, although lower than I would like it, I love seeing that improvement. From a 3.6 to a 4.1, and the ACTS average 3.9. What do I preach? I've taught all of you, or told all of you, 48 hours if you don't hear from someone. If they're not on vacation or out of the office and their message says so, let me know. We're going to continue to improve in this area. Independent living keeps residents informed about the community. Nice improvement from a 4.1 to a 4.4, and the ACS average is 4.1. The competency of staff, a high score of 4.5, improving from 4.3 and better than the ACS average of 4.4. Friendly staff, huge one as well. 4.6 for 2022, we bumped up to 4.7, and the ACS average is 4.7, so across our company, it's a high average. Effectiveness of fitness programs, another high scoring area for us. We moved from a 4.4 to a 4.6 with the ACS average of 4.5. Quality of spiritual services jumped from a 3.9 to a 4.1, but remained slightly below the ACS average of 4.3. Quality of transportation services moved from a 3.8 to a 4.2, but slightly lower than the ACS average of a 4.4. Number of opportunities for volunteering, we've got tons of volunteers. We moved from a 4.4 to a 4.6 with the ACS average of 4.4, so thank you for that. The variety and availability of activities and events went from a 4.3 to a 4.5, and the ACS average is a 4.5. Responsiveness, preparedness for unusual situations, hurricanes, although this was at about the hurricane time, wasn't it? October, I think this might have been done just before that. And then we had the freezing and the ice, so those type of situations. We moved from a 4.3 to a 4.6, which is a nice jump, and the ACS average is 4.3. Safety and security of apartment buildings and grounds, 4.3 to a 4.4, with the ACS average of 4.3. Menu selections, a nice improvement from a 3.4 to a 3.7 with the ACS average of 3.6. Availability of healthy menu choices was a 3.4, moved to a 3.6, and the ACS average of 3.5. Quality of food moved up as well from a 3.5 to a 3.7, and the ACS average of 3.6. Temperature of food from a 3.6 to a 3.8, and quite a bit higher than the ACS average of 3.4. Service of the formal dining venues, this wasn't one that was measured in 2022, so we measured out at 4.5 with an ACS average of 3.9. Service in the bistro cafe venues, we averaged at a 4.3 with total ACS of a 3.9. Quality of takeout services, 2022 was a 3.9, 2024 4.2, and the ACS average 3.8. Upkeep and repair of buildings, 2022 was a 3.5, so it jumped up to a 3.9 with the ACS average of 3.8. Appearance of exterior grounds, 4.1 to a 4.3, same as the ACS average. Cleanliness of common areas, very high score for us, was a 4.5, jumped up to a 4.7 with the ACS average of 4.3. Responsiveness of work order requests, this is an important measurement as well, was a 4.0, jumped to 4.3, and the ACS average of 4.0. That's not me. It almost sounds like it's me. Quality of nurse practitioner services was a 4.6, jumped to a 4.7, and the ACS average of 4.4. Quality of rehab services, 4.6, all the way up to a 4.8, almost 100%, and a 4.6 total ACS average. Confidence in emergency medical response was a 4.4, went up to a 4.5, and the ACS average is 4.3. So here's our summary. As compared to 2022, we improved in 29 of 29 categories. How about that? Yeah. Compared to the ACS average, we were higher in 26 of 31 categories. The reason there's only 29 that we improved from was because there were 2 categories that were 2024 for the first time. Scores were lower in 2 categories, and we were equal to the ACS average in 3 categories. So overall, a very good survey in so many areas. Some independent living action plan topics. We're going to be focusing on culinary, obviously, the healthy choices, and I based mine on some of the comments I received as well, that there were many comments. But healthy choices, menu selections, food quality, and food temperature, we'll continue to focus on those areas with our culinary committee because they're great representatives for us to work with. They all improved from 2022 and better than the ACTS average, but all remain under the 4.0 minimum that we want to be at, so we can improve in those areas. The upkeep and repair of buildings, it improved by 0.4 from 2022 and was 0.1 higher than the ACTS average, but at a score of 3.9, I think we can improve in that area. The quality of spiritual services, it improved by 0.2 from the 2022 survey, up to 4.1, but is 0.2 lower than the ACTS average, so that's something that I'll be working with Duke on and getting some input from residents on things that we can, more impactful things than in the residents' eyes. And that's the independent living results. One thing that I meant to mention earlier about quality of rehab services in Oak Ridge Terrace, there are going to be questions on these type of surveys where, let's say you live in a cottage and you don't use the bistro or you don't use the other dining venues very often, but you feel like you need to answer it one way or another. By giving a 3, which is considered average, it actually hurts us. So my suggestion is if there's an area that you don't utilize, if it's therapy, if it's nurse practitioner, if it's dining, or if it's spiritual services, just don't answer that question, just leave it blank because it won't end up hurting us. Because a 3 is average, and if you take a 3 on a 5 scale, that's 60%, which nobody wants a 60%. So, but great participation. We're open for questions now. This is being taped so you can watch it again. We went through tons of information. If for some reason you would like an emailed copy of this, because it's too many pages to print, reach out to Julia, email her. I'll get you a copy if you'd like an email copy, and then you can print it on your printer or something. But it's like 78 slides or whatever, so it's a lot of information. Any questions for me, Steve, Tammy? As we talked about action steps, as we put plans together, we'll share what our plans are as well in the culinary area and the other areas that we talked about. We'll share what we're going to be doing to try to improve. Yes?
Do you do a calorie breakdown on any of the entrees?
Calorie breakdown on the entrees, isn't it on the app? It's on the K4 app, and yes, it shows the calorie breakdown. We actually talked about it today at the culinary committee meeting. Everything that tastes great seemed to have the most calories, which is not great. And if you're interested, Tammy Stith and others in the room, but I know Tammy she has an app on her phone that she can put it over a barcode, and it rates what you're about to eat or buy from 0 to 100, 0 being the worst, 100 being the best. Then it will go as far as telling you why it's not healthy, sodium, etc., and it'll give you healthier alternatives. So see Tammy if you're interested in that app. Everything I've brought in from home has been like in the 10s, which is not great. But it tastes great.
It ruins everything you want to eat.
I know, it makes you want to eat healthy, which we all need to. Anybody, anything else? Yes?
Is this a forum to ask about, I know we've had architects here looking at the dining room and things like that. Is this a forum to ask those questions?
Probably not, but I'll answer it. So the question is related to the architects that have visited our property. And Steve is aware of this as well. They have put together multiple designs that are being reviewed by our corporate culinary team as well as our building services, because one thing that Chad and I and we all every time we talk about doing something or putting out a new program, it's got to be something that's workable for us. So they may have some incredible designs, but we know our residents better if they're going to like this or that or the location of this and that. If the dining services can function in the same area, they need some more space, or when programs are put out, is it something that we're going to continue to be able to maintain? So it is. It's going to continue to be design work, I'm sure, through this year. There's not going to be any construction beginning this year. I guarantee that. But it's really being looked at closely, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody, anything else? Don't forget that, yes, this is taking the place of our normal forum this month. We're going to have a forum in April, but this is this month. Yes?
Yes. It appears that you're in a numbers game. Everything seems to be 4 point something. what would a perfect score be? What are you looking for? If it's 4 out of 100, you're not doing very well. If it's 4 out of 5, you're probably doing very well.
Okay, so this is a 1 to 5 scale. My goal is to have every department at 4 or above as an average. We're not there yet, but we're pretty close. 4.5 is considered a 90%. If we can get all, we won't be able to get all areas there. Culinary is always the biggest challenge in that area, just because of so many varying opinions in that. But minimum of 4 and above is the goal, out of 5. So that's 80 out of 100. Anybody else? We'll be sticking around for a little bit. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.